Hey everybody, thanks for joining the webinar today. We're going to be talking about how to build the foundations of multi-channel marketing. My name is John Grail. I'm an Associate Director at CACI Digital Consulting. I help my clients grow their numbers, grow their sales funnel through doing really smart multi-channel marketing. We'd like to share some insights and some bits and bobs with you today. I thought I'd start by looking at the big wide world, or more accurately, what eConsultancy looked at the big wide world to understand the question, how multi-channel are we? And it's kind of a little bit surprising. Around 12% of people say that none of their marketing campaigns are integrated at all. Interesting. 47% of people say some of our campaigns are integrated across some of our channels, some of our time. Around 29% of people are saying most of our campaigns are integrated across most of our channels, and only 12% of people say we take an integrated approach to all of our campaigns across all of our channels. I think, one, this is really interesting because kind of everybody thinks everybody else is super multi-channel and super coordinated, but that isn't necessarily the case. The second point is, I think, why this happens, and I think that's because running multi-channel marketing, in my experience, kind of is a little bit more complicated than a lot of people give it credit for. More accurately, we need to think in a slightly different way. We need to plan in a slightly different way, and we need to measure in a slightly different way. And we'll look to talk through kind of all of those points in the next few minutes. The big question about kind of being multi-channel that I often get asked is why? What's the benefit of being multi-channel, John? You know, what's in it for me? Well, the answer I kind of look to give is, look, using all of our channels kind of in a coordinated way all of the time will basically do two things. One, it will increase the frequency of interaction that we have with a prospect. And the second advantage is that it will allow us more opportunity to reach our prospects in multiple channels. These two facts combined will mean that we have an increased propensity to convert a visitor into a customer if we're speaking to them more frequently and if we're speaking to them in more channels. So in my mind, multi-channel marketing is definitely a good thing and definitely something that drives results, that actually drives growth. But like I said a second ago, kind of, it's not necessarily as easy as some might think, and this is probably why not all of the people are multi-channel all of the time. I think there's kind of two big differences in viewing our efforts in a multi-channel way. First things, we need to understand performance in a very different way. So we might need to look at the goals and the KPIs that we're measuring. We might need to plan and report and forecast in a slightly different way or a completely different way in some cases. We will need to look at historic performance, but look at historic performance in a few different ways to get a real understanding of how our channels are working together and really driving sales. We'll definitely need to take a slightly different approach to planning future campaigns and optimizing performance of campaigns. Will need to be done kind of in a slightly different way to really get the most out of all of the channels. So all the way through that kind of planning process and through to campaign launch, we're going to need to take a slightly different view of how we understand performance. The thing is, when we do understand that performance, we can really start to drive performance in a much greater way. We can really increase the frequency of interaction. We can really increase the number of channels that we're interacting with our prospects, which, like I said, is the best way to increase the propensity of driving a conversion. To try and explain kind of exactly what I mean by a multi-channel approach, I thought I'd try and give you a couple of examples to bring this to life. So up on the screen at the moment, we've got kind of a fairly simple, fairly rudimentary approach to acquisition marketing, where we want to raise awareness of a product in our market. We want to drive consideration of our brand and of our products, and ultimately we want to capture demand and turn that into a sale. This is hopefully a process that you're all very, very familiar with. What we've also started to map in is kind of the channels that are typically regarded as playing a particular role at a particular stage of a funnel. So something like display or DM would be more typically associated with raising awareness of a brand. Retargeting and social is typically something that we'd use for driving consideration and building a conversation with a prospect. And something like PPC or affiliates would be a channel that we'd very much look to drive a sale. So I'm going to paint a couple of scenarios to explain kind of what the limitations of a single channel approach could be and what the benefits of a multi-channel approach would be. So in the first scenario, we're a business and we're very focused on driving sales. We might invest a lot of our time and our effort and our budget into a bottom of the funnel channel like PPC. And what we'd be very, very good at doing is capturing demands and converting that into sale. But what we will find is we will very, very quickly hit a sales threshold, i.e. we'll maximize the number of sales that we're doing, we'll kind of get to efficiency, but that won't necessarily be the best way of driving an overall sales number or growing. A really great example of this would be bidding on our brand term in paid search. You know, we're going to convert that traffic, we're going to capture that traffic, we're going to turn that traffic into a sale. But if there isn't a huge amount of demand for my brand term, we're very quickly going to top out and struggle to kind of grow much beyond our current sales number just using that approach. So what we could also do is start to create lots of awareness, you know, using display, email, direct mail, for example, to raise awareness of our brand, raise awareness of our proposition. We could get our brand and our products out there. People could become very familiar with us and very aware with us. But if that's all we're doing, if we're not really doing anything kind of at the middle of the stage with retargeting or the bottom of the funnel with collecting demand, we're really going to miss our opportunity to maximize our sales numbers. You know, somebody else will swoop in and compete with us and capture the demand that we've created and turn it into their sales. So, you know, they might start bidding on our brand term, for example, and all of the awareness that we've been raising just disappears and we lose out. The third scenario is we start to have different focuses at different stages of the funnel, different channels playing different roles, and this really is kind of the ultimate way that we can maximize our sales impact. Sorry. What this would mean is we could have something like display, raising awareness of our brand. We could be retargeting our audiences across social and with paid search retargeting and display retargeting to prolong an engagement and create further engagements, and have PPC working to capture all of that demand. This way we're creating demand, we're engaging our audience, and we're converting that demand into sales all the way through. This is absolutely why I think kind of working in a multi-channel approach really is kind of the optimal solution. Because we're starting to look at the roles of different channels at stages of the funnel, what this really typically means is that we need more KPIs and different KPIs to really understand performance and to optimize performance and improve performance. So one thing kind of that they're all very used to doing is measuring sales on a CPA basis, on a cost per acquisition basis. This is a really important metric, and it kind of shows us how efficient we're being. But it's also not the be-all and end-all. In a multi-channel world, I think CPA is definitely something that's very, very important, but we need other KPIs to live alongside it to give us a full view of the engagement that we're creating and the audiences that we're reaching. Ultimately, what we want to be measuring is how many people are we talking to and what kind of responses are we getting and how efficient is our efforts at the top of the funnel, and ultimately how big is the audience that we're reaching. The middle of the funnel, we're really starting to be concerned with the engagement that we're creating. Specifically, I think we would always take the position that you really need to be aware of and considering high quality engagements. I'll go on to talk about those a little bit more in just one second. And of course, we should be measuring on a CPA basis at the bottom of the funnel, like I suspect all of us kind of already do. What we ultimately need to have is a KPI framework that shows by stage of the funnel exactly how we're performing, how much reach are we creating, how much engagement we're creating, how many conversions are we capitalizing on. We need kind of all three of these in a multi-channel world to really get a proper understanding of performance. And once we understand performance in these kind of distinct ways, we can really optimize across the funnel to improve every single step of the buying process. One thing I mentioned is high quality engagements. This is kind of a very important metric for us, and it's something kind of the growth hackers are very used to using. Ultimately, what I mean by this is during the middle of a buying journey, during the middle of the funnel, we might have created an audience who are aware of our brand, but who might not be ready to buy. A really good example of this could be somebody who sells Christmas presents. We could invest throughout the year to raise our brand awareness and our product awareness. We know that people are kind of most likely to buy in the lead up to the Christmas period. But we also know that we need to kind of cultivate that engagement and cultivate this audience throughout the year to give us the best chance of capitalizing that demand at the end of the year. The approach that we quite often take is driving high quality engagements. What I mean by this is that any time of the year, at any stage for any business, we can use our channels to drive specific micro conversions or specific actions in our users. This could be something like watching a video or visiting our website or entering a competition. All of these kind of micro conversions are useful and a good thing to be driving because they're driving engagement with our brand and engagement with our site. But using a big old helping of data science and predictive analytics, we can start to understand what are the key micro conversions that we need to drive in a given audience to increase the propensity that that person will convert in the future. So in the scenario here, we can look at all of our micro conversions, and using data science and predictive analytics, we will understand that, look, if we're driving people to our website and they're visiting 3 or more pages, they're watching a product video and they're signing up to our email newsletters, we know that in the future these guys are much more likely to convert. Why this is super useful is I can use display retargeting and paid search retargeting and social retargeting to really drive these behaviors. I can demonstrate that this works in the here and now, and I can have confidence in the data that in the future these people are absolutely more likely to convert. And this is totally, how you need to think in a multi-channel environment. It's not just about capturing the sales today. It's about what activity am I going to do today that will drive a sale in the future. Taking this approach and mapping it into a channel level will start to mean that we're going to have different KPIs and different measures of success for channels. Typically we operate on a channel by channel basis. What we really want to understand is what's the role of my channels within the broader picture, and how do I measure performance as and when I'm going. So in my scenario with my Christmas present company, I may be running display campaigns specifically around creating awareness and engaging my audience, for which my main KPI would really start to be my high quality engagements. And I might be running an affiliate program where my main KPI is ultimately to driving incremental sales. That's great to know, but what I also need is sub KPIs that I can measure and be aware of and optimize channel performance against in year and in month and in quarter. So what this means, I can end up with KPIs for display to do with the number of people I'm reaching and the response rates I'm getting and the number of high quality engagements that I'm driving, and ultimately how many sales I'm influencing. This is not measuring display on a last click CPA basis, and this is kind of taking a lot more attributed view of display and the display channel to understand what's the role it's playing in creating awareness in my audience and engaging my audience. It's very, very important to say that this isn't just driving sales on a CPA basis. This is growing the audience of people who will convert in the future. However, with affiliates, kind of it's a lot simpler. It's a lot more like I'm just worried about the number of sales and the spend that I'm using to get those sales and what my CPA is. But within that, I can still have sub KPIs to do with the number of partners that I'm activating, how my program's growing, the number of affiliates that I'm retaining, the number of new affiliates that I'm recruiting. These are all super important KPIs that I could and should be measuring and optimizing against throughout the year to make sure that when I hit my peak seasonal trading time, I'm absolutely maximizing all of my sales. One of the things kind of I've mentioned a couple of times there is seasonality, and I think this is very, very important in a multi-channel world to understand that not all of my channels should be doing everything all at the same time. I've got to kind of take a bit of a step back and kind of take a longer term view of what are the roles of my channels within my funnel throughout my year and using seasonality to ultimately drive performance. So in my kind of scenario here, if I had a kind of a flat target throughout the year for a KPI such as raising awareness, I might kind of think, oh, early year, I'm doing a really good job, I'm above target and I'm doing really, really well, my display KPIs are kind of flying, but at the back end of the year, kind of dropping off and performance is not looking so hot. Actually, if I start to take kind of a KPI like reach and awareness, what I really need to understand is that my target should be phased throughout the year in conjunction with other activities at the other stages of the funnel. So if I know that I need to drive sales in kind of November, December in my Christmas present business, I really know that during kind of March, April, May, I really need to be really, really building up awareness of my brand and my proposition. And I have a completely different set of targets, a completely different way of measuring performance and optimizing performance throughout the year. Look, the important thing is in a multi-channel environment, seasonal trends vary between channels and between stages of the funnel. And that means that you need to be setting the right targets. And if you don't know where you are throughout the year at all of your stages, then it's going to be very difficult to kind of figure out what to do next. Another point kind of that's very, very important within multi-channel marketing is using all of your data to be more effective. So in my example here, I'm looking at the amount of traffic that I'm buying by city in the UK and the conversion rate by city. So I can see that in London, I'm buying kind of, a relatively small audience. I'm buying about 12% of my kind of target audience, and my conversion rate's kind of relatively low at 1.3%. Whereas in somewhere like Southampton, I've got a very, very strong conversion rate, but my available traffic bought is very, very low. I'm buying kind of very, very little of the audience that I can be. Look, the important thing is we've got to kind of get an understanding on what works and start using all of our data points to make decisions and change our activity. So, in kind of the fairly generic example that I've got here, I should really be investing and increasing my paid search bids within Southampton. I should be targeting more audiences down in Southampton. I should be using paid social to target audiences down in Southampton because I know that they've got an increased propensity to convert, and I really, really need to bring in the audience so that I can drive the sales. In a multi-channel world, I really need to get used to looking at information in one channel and using it to make decisions kind of across all of my media mix to make sure I've got the optimal level of performance across the board. How this can start to look kind of in a fairly practical example is kind of best demonstrated kind of at a channel level. So in this scenario I've got here, my paid search impressions are spiking, and I've seen a spike in impressions. I've noticed that, but what I've also noticed is kind of it's brought my conversion rate kind of crashing down. What I really want to be in a position to do is understand my data and understand the role of my multi-channel funnel and understand there's going to be a spike in demand. I need to plan for that. I need to have the right KPIs at the right channel level, and I need to create more and more demand and capture more and more demand in line with seasonality. So what this could look like is a scenario like this, where if I know that I'm going to have a spike in conversion because I'm a Christmas business and I sell everything at Christmas time, the period before a spike in conversion, I really need to be focused on building my awareness, building up my cookie pools, building up the size of my audiences, so that when I hit peak time, I can turn on my paid search retargeting, I can take on my Facebook retargeting, I can upweight my acquisition spend to capture all of that demand. Essentially, in a multi-channel environment, I'm using all of my channels to tactically and strategically create demand, engage my audience and capture that demand, and creating more and more and more sales, and really, really driving growth. So that's kind of my view of why we should be multi-channel marketing and some of the problems that kind of we potentially run into. I guess there's a few takeaways from today's session. First and foremost, hopefully I've demonstrated that a multi-channel approach can be greater than just taking a single channel view of the world. But to get there, it's not super easy. There's a reason that not all of us are doing it all of the time. One of the big things that we need to get used to doing is setting clear goals and understanding where our channels are against performance, against different KPIs at different times of the year. That's super important. Operationally, what's working and learnings from one channel really, really need to be shared and played around and leveraged in other channels. And as you've probably noticed, managing multiple channels can become a lot easier if we are getting very, very sophisticated with our technology and our approaches. So, audience-driven approaches to marketing, leveraging data management platforms, and attribution models all really can and should be playing a big part of how we approach multi-channel marketing and really making the most of multi-channel marketing. That's it in terms of presentation from today. I'm now going to field any questions that you guys have. Please fire away and ask anything that you want to know or challenge me on any of the points that we've raised today.